We got all kinds of stuff. We got the tariffs. Donald Trump threatened over the last week to put tariffs on both Canada and Mexico, and 25% each for all imported goods. And both countries got together and they said, okay, fine. If you tariff us, we're going to tariff you. We'll fight back. And they had some really strong words. For instance, this is what the president of Mexico had to say in a speech that she gave about Donald Trump. We will I hadn't done that one in a while. But no, so they threatened him. They threatened the U.S. with tariffs. They talked really tough. And the whole reason Donald Trump wanted to throw these tariffs on both of these countries was he said, hey, we've got fentanyl pouring across not just the southern, but also the northern border. And you guys, I told you before I got elected that this needed to get taken care of, and you needed to help us take care of this. We need to stop this at the source and prevent it from even getting into the country. Both of them talked tough and said, I'm not going to do that. And Trump said, fine, 25% tariffs. Then all of a sudden, magically, both countries said, whoa, 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 whoa. We'll come to the table. We'll talk to you. They threatened it back for a minute, and then they went, oh, hold on, never mind. We'll come and talk. Justin Trudeau, who resigned as prime minister, but he's still in place for a couple more months. Justin Trudeau, this was the most hilarious Michael Scott move I've ever heard from anyone in any type of position of power. So Justin Trudeau didn't realize how badly he was kneecapped. Justin Trudeau said, we're going to throw a 25% tariff on you. But since he resigned, the way Canada's parliamentary system is made up, he doesn't actually have the power to institute tariffs without approval from their parliament. But their parliament's not in session, and it's in total disarray. So he couldn't actually do anything. He also said that he was going to tariff, everything coming in from the United States. And Canada loves to brag about all their oil that they produce up there. But here's another thing he doesn't realize, is that their pipeline, thanks to some environmental activists, they actually had a chance to become energy independent. But a bunch of environmental activists got together in Canada and said, absolutely not. We're not going to build a new pipeline that only runs through Canada. So all of Canada's oil pipelines run through the United States. So we could shut it off at any moment. They also, all of the oil that they drill up there gets sent to the United States to be refined and then sold back to Canada. So they would literally be taxing their own exports to bring it back into the country. They were kneecapped from the beginning. He didn't even realize what a shithole he was in, that he was backed into the corner the way he was, and immediately caved. He held out a little bit longer than Mexico. So credit to him. And did you know the average wealth, the wealth of the average Canadian, Mia, if you compare it to Americans, it beats one state, and that's Mississippi. One state. Every single other state in the country, the average resident of that state has a higher net worth than the average Canadian. That's how broke that country is. They are nothing without us. They thought they could go to a trade war with us, and it didn't last. He was playing with a deuce 7 unsuited, and everybody knew it except him. What a fucking idiot. So here's what Canada has agreed to appoint a fentanyl czar, spend over $1 billion on border patrol, reinforce the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, send 10,000 personnel to the border, label cartels as terrorists, and launch a joint Canada-U.S. Strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. Mexico did something similar. They are calling up the 10,000 troops to the border to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal immigrants into the country. So Trump again got two countries to buckle immediately, just like that. At the drop of a pin, he said the words, they caved. This is going to be the trend for quite a while here. Now everybody was freaking out. Oh, the tariffs are coming. What did I tell you guys from the get-go? Tariffs can be an effective bargaining tool. They're an effective negotiation tool. They're a stick. You use them to punish people. You use them to threaten people with. Now, the problem is, every now and then, I've played enough poker to know, that you can only play bully ball for so long. Somebody's eventually going to call your bluff. Well, Canada and Mexico were too weak to do that. United Front on the EU or China or somebody like that could be a little bit more significant. With that said, he was never using tariffs as a primary source of revenue. It was never supposed to be a permanent tariff like the Biden administration did with a lot of the Chinese tariffs that Trump put on in his first term. It was never supposed to be a permanent one. He was using it to get what he wanted. It was an effective negotiation tactic, and he did exactly that. So I don't even have a problem with this. While I'm not a big fan of tariffs, I think he used them appropriately here. Now, I am a little concerned. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I was a little concerned with how overzealous. He's like a kid that just figured out the words that he has to use to get his mom and dad to give him whatever he wants. This could get a little bit dangerous. I'm a little concerned with how willing he is to just immediately pull the tariff card on everybody, because like I said, eventually somebody is going to call the bluff, and you and I are unfortunately going to be the ones that have to pay that price for however long that is. So that is something to keep in the back of your mind. Like I said, what works on one country doesn't always work on others. Now, here's what I've said for the longest time. If you really want to get at Mexico, the number one foreign investment in Mexico in 2023, over $63 billion in remittances from the United States, people sending money back to family members in Mexico from the United States. Now, they do this tax-free. The only thing they have to pay is whatever the fee is for the institution that they're sending the money through. So if you really want to get back at Mexico and really not have much of an effect on us, you just start taxing those remittances. You start taxing the remittances. Hey, 15% on all money, 15% tax on all money that gets sent back to Mexico. So you want to wire $1,000 to Abuela? You better have $1,150. That's how we're going to do this. Because there's no foreign investment that surpasses remittances from the United States. You guys got to consider, this is money that's a lot of the time, if you're someone, specifically someone who's here illegally, money that's being made under the table. So that money's not getting taxed, right? That money's not getting taxed. It's not paying into Social Security and Medicare. It's not getting spent in the United States because it's getting sent back to Mexico, so it's not helping out our economy here. It's not stimulating businesses and growth here. It just gets made under the table, never taxed, sent back to Mexico where their businesses get the money, where they drive up the sales tax and the revenue over there. So we are seeing no benefit from this. We're getting fucked over by it. If I'm Donald Trump, personally, I think you throw 100% tax on it. You want to send $1,000 to Mexico? It's $2,000 now, and half of that goes to the U.S. You and I wouldn't be affected by that, not like we would with a tariff, at least. But I don't think you do that right away. I think you keep that. I think, while the revenue that would generate would be nice, I think that having that in your back pocket is more valuable than the actual money you would get from it. The ability to threaten Mexico with, hey, if you don't do what we want, we will cripple your economy and bring it to its fucking knees overnight. They're not going to play that game. They will cave immediately. Now, they're claiming that Joe Biden got Mexico to do this without threatening tariffs. That's not true. That's not true at all. Mexico, in response to a caravan of illegal migrants coming up from South and Central America, sent troops to their southern border. This is the first time that any president has ever gotten Mexico to send troops to the northern border with the United States. So it's very impressive by Donald Trump. Good work by Trump there. We're swinging our dick around on the national. Mia, how does it feel to know we're swinging our dick around on the international scale again? Is that a good feeling to know that we're back?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, we've got a couple. So, of course, that didn't stop the Democrats from the unhinged theatrics. And it's like I don't think they realized. I don't think they get it. I don't think that the media and the Democrats get it. I don't think they learn. Well, we'll find out real quick on the next segment why they didn't learn their lesson. But they clearly didn't learn their lesson, because the way they were sounding the alarms about these tariffs was as if they were going to be permanent. That was never the intention. He was using them as a negotiation tactic. Now, yes, I was concerned that a united Canada and Mexico might actually be the party that's willing to call the bluff. That was a concern of mine, that we might get into a trade war and this could actually sting for a little bit. But it was clear from the get-go that he was using them as a negotiation tactic, right? Again, I think we should be cautious with how often we pull that card, though, because eventually we're going to have to find another trick. I'm telling you right now, write that down. Caleb says eventually we're going to have to find a different go-to than just to threaten people with tariffs. Okay, so that didn't stop the Democrats from their usual hysterics. This is what Chuck Schumer, yes, he is the cousin of the worst comedian of all time, Amy Schumer, what Chuck Schumer, the senator of New York, had to say.
Let's just take Super Bowl Sunday, okay? It's going to affect beer, okay?
Guy's never held a beer in his life.
Corona here comes from Mexico. It's going to affect your guac, because what is guacamole made of? Avocados, both from Mexico.
Are these people serious? Hey, let me pose with an avocado, and you know he didn't go to the grocery store to get that himself, because you know he hasn't been inside of one in like 35 years. Mind you, pull the image up below that. This is the same Chuck Schumer on Father's Day who showed him grilling hamburgers and had cheese on the raw hamburger patty on the grill. These people are such disconnected filth. They really are. I mean, he's disgusting. Chuck Schumer. Almost as bad as his cousin. What was he thinking? The guy's clearly, like I said, never held a beer before in his life, at least not for the last 30, 40 years. These people are so disconnected. They don't understand that we're not buying this line of bullshit anymore, that we're done. We're done. Well, that's not the only bold moves Donald Trump has made on the international scale recently. So Panama responded to his... shall we call them requests? Yeah, let's call them requests. Panama responded to his requests. And my prediction came exactly true. Remember, I did at the beginning of his term, I did a whole show where I listed off a bunch of predictions. And one of the predictions I made was that the United States would not seize ownership of the Panama Canal, but we would strike a deal with the nation of Panama that was more beneficial to us than anybody else. Well, sure as shit, Panama responded to Donald Trump's requests within the first month by offering free passage for U.S. military ships, along with withdrawing from a key lending agreement with China. So I was 100% spot on. We would get some type of deal that would save us money. They would back away from China, but we wouldn't take ownership. So I was right there. Could you say I think we had a former guest that described me, that would describe those actions. What would he say?
I'm the Messiah.
Yeah, something like that. We have a former guest that said that would make me a prophet because I got a prediction right. It's not because I'm good at looking at trends and just seeing what comes after, what 2 + 2 equals on the international scale. No, because I am a prophet anointed from God. No, just smarter than you, Xavier. The next thing he did was we've got El Salvador. No relation to me, by the way. The nation of El Salvador agreed that they would take back all illegal immigrant deportations, not just from their country, though, but from other countries, and house them in their prisons. They also said that if we want, for a small fee, which would be small, about half of what we pay to house prisoners here, we could send our most violent long-term prisoners over to El Salvadorian prisons where they would house them in their country. I see this as an absolute win. It would save us money. It would get the filth off our streets. I don't know how constitutional this is. I don't know if this is something they could do. They're going to have to certainly have some attorneys look into this. But I think this is an absolute win. I see no downside to sending murderers and rapists and pedophiles over to El Salvador to let them rot away in jail over there. I think that's it's going to save us money. It'll open up the prisons, so we can put more women who get abortions in there. I'm kidding. Kinda. I'm kidding. No, the last thing he did was he has a solution to the Israel-Gaza crisis. Mia, what do you think his solution is to the Israel-Gaza crisis? Do you have any idea?
Just tell everyone to be nice to each other.
No, that's what Biden did for 4 years, and it didn't work. No, he more or less, he wants to kick everybody out of Gaza, go in there and rebuild, and basically turn it into the Las Vegas Strip of the Middle East. That's more or less what he said. Now, we have an image a Twitter user posted, an excellent idea for what the Gaza Strip could look like after the U.S. takes it over. Go ahead, pull this up here. I think this would be phenomenal. A Texas Roadhouse on every block in the West Bank.
This is my dream.
I see no downside to this. You see, a Texas Roadhouse lining the Gaza Strip. Now, this is obviously, you got the casinos and all the other shows and everything like that, but I think this is the move. I think they figured it out. Absolutely. Here's what I'm going to say, though. I'm going to wrap this segment up. We're in a globalized economy. And while I'm not personally a fan of the general concept of tariffs, I also am a pragmatist who understands their worth, specifically in negotiations with countries that have been taking advantage of us for a long time. So I'm not going to hold that against Donald Trump. What I will warn against is I will warn against the overuse of the threat of tariffs. Like I said, I have played poker long enough to know that you can play bully ball for so long until somebody eventually calls you on your bluff. And when somebody calls you on your bluff, you better hope that you've got some good cards, right? Now, there's certain people, again, but it matters who you're up against. There's people I know that I can bully out of a hand, and there's people I know who, if they have even if they even sniff having good cards, they're going to call or even raise me on it, right? And they'll up the stakes. And then one of three things is going to happen. I'm going to fold and look like an idiot, and everyone's going to see that they can get me to fold by calling me or raising me. Number two, I'm going to bet a lot of money, and I'm going to win, but it's going to be high-stakes gambling if I want to pull this off. I was originally hoping was just going to be an easy layup victory. Or number three, which is the worst of all, I'm going to bet a lot of money, and I'm going to get my ass kicked and lose a whole bunch because I was trying to bully somebody when I really didn't have as much of the upper hand as I pretended to. So that's what I'm concerned with here. That's what I'm concerned with. What works on Canada or Mexico or Colombia doesn't necessarily work against more unified fronts. And we have to have something other than the tariff. You can't, it's like a football team that can only run one play. You've got to have, or a basketball team who only has one guy that can score. You've got to have something else up your sleeve if you want to be consistently successful, because it's only a matter of time until you win. And here's the other thing. This is the schoolyard bully effect. We're out pushing everybody around, which is really fun right now. But eventually what's going to happen is if you're the biggest guy in prison and you're the one pushing everybody around, it's only a matter of time until somebody grows a set and tries to throw it and tries to swing on you. Eventually somebody's going to take a shot. Doesn't mean it's going to land, but eventually someone's going to take a shot in a way you haven't seen and that you're not used to. And you have to be ready to answer that call. So we need to be, that's all I'm saying, is we just need to be careful with how much we rely on the tariffs. It's working right now. How well is it going to work in 2 years? Because people are eventually going to get sick of it and they'll go, you know what? Fuck it. Call. I'll play. Let's see what happens here. Raise. And then we could be in trouble. And trade wars will hurt us. You and me. They won't hurt the president. They won't hurt the government as badly. They will hurt us. We will be the ones who pay for that. And the Republicans who ran on X, Y, and Z products are too expensive are going to have a lot of explaining to do to the voters if we get into a trade war, specifically one right before the midterms. You don't think that these other countries see the benefit in having a United States that's weak, that's controlled by weak leaders like the Democrats? There's a lot of countries that are going to be waiting, to, whether it be 2026 midterms or the 2028 presidential election, they're going to be waiting. And they're going to strategically launch a trade, like China, maybe, parts of Europe, Canada, Mexico, you name it. But those countries could all be waiting right now for the United States to be on the verge of an election. And then they'd throw us into a trade war and tank our economy. That could very well happen. And I hate to break it to you, but when prices go through the roof and inflation is soaring, the incumbent party very rarely comes out on top. So that could be the play of some foreign actors that maybe aren't too fond of the current administration and don't like dealing with them. They could have that card up their sleeve. They could be meeting behind closed doors and saying, hey, let's gang up on these guys, but let's do it right before the election so we can weaken their political system. That's all I'll say. And that's been our lead topic. Stay tuned. We got a whole bunch more coming up. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to click the link in the description to get the full episode on Rumble. If you prefer to listen along, you could actually get us on Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. You can also go to www.outlawstreamers.com to learn more about not just my show, but tons of other great shows and all the exciting projects they have coming up. Follow my socials at Caleb Isn't Funny on Twitter and Instagram, at Caleb Salvatore Comedy on the Chinese Spy app that is TikTok, and be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks, and we'll see you every Saturday for brand new episodes of That's Based. Peace.